Blank also described several infants being killed and their intestines removed, as well as other acts of cannibalism. Blank also stated that former United States President George H.W. Bush was engaged in a sex act with an unknown male black, and so much more. So this could be one of the most disturbing new drops from the Epstein file release. This is essentially a tip that was turned into the FBI, I believe, in 2019, August 2019.
Hey guys, it's me here, Comrade Lavender here, and I'm back with another YouTube video here. Today I wanted to talk about part 2 of my Jeffrey Epstein series. A lot has been spilled recently regarding the files, and I wanted to post more about it, so this is my part 2 deep dive into the matter. But before we get started, all my YouTube videos related to this topic will be on the screen right now if you would like to check them out after this YouTube video topic. So let's get into this YouTube video topic. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was Justin Bieber's music video Yummy and the symbolism that people are waking up to.
The song titled Yummy was even linked to the case currently being faced by the 54-year-old rapper. The video begins with a party filled with the rich and elite, while young people act as entertainers playing a symphony of musical instruments on stage. A beautifully decorated table filled with a variety of food awaited Bieber before a silver platter was then delivered to him, revealing a strangely arranged sandwich that fans said was strategically placed. If you take a closer look at the sandwich, there is actually a cherry there, so the bread is set up to protect the cherry, she continued, calling the cherry a symbol of Bieber's innocence prior to Diddy's mentorship.
Justin Bieber's song Yummy is being reanalyzed in light of the newly released Epstein documents. The U.S. Justice Department's latest release of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein court files has sparked theories suggesting that the Canadian pop star Justin Bieber may have been one of the ring of pedophiles in Hollywood victims. Released in 2020, Yummy was initially considered a bizarre pop hit, featuring repetitive lyrics of the song title and unsettling imagery that points to people like P. Diddy, Clive Davis, and Jeffrey Epstein in its music video. Fans are speculating that the single may have a hidden meaning connected to Bieber's alleged traumatic experiences with the rich capitalist pig higher-up pedophiles at the beginning of his career. At the center of the theory lies an email allegedly sent to Epstein's staff, thanking them for their pizza and describing it as yummy, yummy. All over Hollywood, the reference to pizza has been made over the years. In the world of conspiracy theories, pizza is believed to be a code for child exploitation. The conspiracy theory that has been proven to be true is known as Pizzagate, which emerged in 2016 during the U.S. presidential elections, alleged the existence of child exploitation networks connected to high-profile figures in politics and entertainment. Justin Bieber's The Yummy music video features several elements that have led fans to be convinced that the song was actually a cry for help from a victim of capitalism all along. While the older guests eat, a string quartet of children plays music in the background. The music video ends with Bieber looking into the camera while sitting alone at a table. As an older man continues to eat at a different table, the frame then cuts to a slice of cake being removed from a plate, revealing a photo of young Bieber beneath it, along with the text, Yummy. P. Diddy was the one who was really close to Justin Bieber during his younger years and was a whole predator. Some have also interpreted the music video as referencing Sean Diddy Combs' infamous white baby oil parties, as it features a dance sequence with several performers dressed in white clothing, the strict dress code for the disgraced rapper's events. I definitely think Justin was sexual assaulted by P. Pity his body language when he was around him, and P. Diddy Hikey threatening him makes me think so. Soon-Yi Previn's leaked Epstein emails are dragging Woody Allen back into the conversation. Newly released emails show Previn privately blasting the hashtag #MeToo movement and siding with men accused of sexual misconduct. In a 2016 email to Jeffrey Epstein, Previn defended Anthony Weiner's texting scandal. She excused his crimes and called the 15-year-old victim a despicable human being for reeling him like a fish. Sex offender Jeffrey Epstein actively monitored the #MeToo movement and used his influence to advise, support, and commiserate with powerful men facing accusations of sexual misconduct. The emails show Epstein viewed the movement as a threat to his social circle and sought to coordinate pushback against it. Emails from 2017-2018 show Epstein in close contact with figures such as physicist Lawrence Krauss, advising him on media strategy and public relations during a Title IX investigation. Epstein kept lists of men who went down due to allegations, including Harvey Weinstein, Charlie Rose, Brett Ratner, Louis C.K., and Matt Lauer. Epstein and his allies frequently derided the #MeToo movement, with one associate, Hollywood publicist Peggy Siegel, calling it a barbaric overreaction and stating that the #MeToo crazies want blood and death. Emails from Woody Allen's wife, Soon-Yi Previn, showed her contacting Epstein to mock the #MeToo movement, calling it too far, and complaining about Ronan Farrow's reporting on Harvey Weinstein.
And I'd never seen anyone naked before, except myself, so I had no clue about what was happening. And so it struck me so funny, I laughed at him, and I laughed uproariously. I had tears, and he got infuriated, and he said, "Out, out, out, go."
Did you tell your mother?
Well, I was very quiet. I went down and met her in the lobby of the administration building. She came out very quietly from Louis B. Mayer's office, and we walked hand in hand silently to the car, which was unusual. We got in the car driving home. I said, "Mom, you won't believe what happened to me." And I told her what happened, and she got kind of quiet, and she said, "Well, you don't know what happened to me."
Shirley Temple exposed the Hollywood acting industry for being run by pedophiles in 1988 after a prominent Hollywood executive exposed himself to her when she was just 12.
These protesters, this is a protest that started at 3 in the afternoon. Many of the people have already left, but this small group is still here. At issue are two very bizarre, disturbing ad campaigns that leave many people wondering, what was Balenciaga thinking when they came up with those ideas?
Stop shopping for pedophiles! You're supporting a pedophile!
A loud and clear message outside of Balenciaga's store in Beverly Hills.
Anyone that buys and wears Balenciaga, they're promoting child porn and pedophilia.
These are the images that have upset so many people.
And Balenciaga's recent campaign sparked outrage for blatantly sexualizing children. But this is not an isolated event. This is not a fluke. This is representative of a widespread movement towards sexualizing children and normalizing pedophilia, and it's time for us to wake up and put a stop to it.
Tonight only on 7 News, a 6-month investigation into the Boy Scouts. For most boys, being a Boy Scout is a positive experience, but for some, the experience left them scarred for life.
The pedophile priest in the Catholic Church and the Penn State abuse scandal. It's institutional secrecy and a culture of concealment.
They were doing so to protect the name Boy Scouts of America.
Tonight, the Scripps National Investigative Team reveals a disturbing pattern of crimes against children that many times went unreported by the Boy Scouts, where sexual abusers were quietly kicked out, able to victimize other children.
All of this could have been prevented a long time ago.
We are on their trail, the trail of betrayal.
Sir, why are you running away?
More than 60,000 men say they were sexually abused when they were Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts have been maintaining files on pedophiles starting probably around 1920. They had something called the Red Flag Files, and those were then changed to the Confidential Files. And now they're known as the Perversion Files. That's the name the Boy Scouts gave them.
If you are a parent, I need you to stop and watch this video, because what I've been going through in the Epstein file should concern everyone, but especially parents. Now stick with me on this because it's important. If you have kids, or even from when you were a kid, you probably remember a company called LifeTouch. They're the company that takes school photos, and they've been around for decades. In fact, I remember them taking my school photos when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, and a lot of you probably remember that too. So this is a company that has been around for a while and has had routine access to American and Canadian schools for generations. Well, today, LifeTouch is owned by Shutterfly, which was acquired by a company called Apollo Global Management. That means LifeTouch and Shutterfly now sit in the same corporate structure. Now, when people hear school photos, they tend to think it's just a picture. It's not. School photo systems typically include a child's name, their school, their grade, their teacher, classroom information. Parents then provide home addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, and payment details. All of that information is tied directly to an image of a child, your child, and stored long-term for reorders, archives, and future access.
As it has been discovered, a former LifeTouch executive, Leon Black, was personally involved with the convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. LifeTouch, one of the largest providers of school photography services in the United States, has come into focus since the newly released Epstein files was made public by the U.S. Department of Justice. LifeTouch operates in tens of thousands of schools each year, photographing millions of children and storing those images digitally. This should scare any parent it's like they're looking for children to traffic to the elites. Human trafficking is a booming business, now estimated to be over a $150 billion industry. Under capitalism, trafficking and exploitation thrive. Capitalism enables human bodies, especially those in vulnerable or unstable situations, to be seen as highly expendable, reusable, and profitable objects by those looking to exploit. Traffickers often hone in on these vulnerabilities using Maslow's hierarchy of needs to fill an emotional, psychological, and/or physical need that the targeted individual is in search of. This may be providing a safe place to stay, a loving relationship, or a sense of belonging. Through this grooming process, the targeted individual is reduced to a means to an end that will ultimately result in their exploitation and the trafficker's profit. Moreover, many traffickers use legal industries, such as public transportation, hotels and motels, social media, and banks, to aid the recruitment and continuation of trafficking.
About China, and it pissed me off so much I had to talk about it. So, because these two morons were just sitting around talking about the leadership of the second largest economy on earth, like they're discussing a group of idiots. And the worst part, this garbage shaped actual policy. Here's what Bannon said, and I quote, I'm going to put up the screenshots of the conversation so you can see. It's a group of peasants trying to run a world economy. She barely has high school education. Completely panicked when they read through the deal, already leaking oil. A convicted child abuser is casually bragging that the US planted cyber weapons in China's systems, and his complaint is that China found them and used them back. So that's a predator mad because his victims fought back. And he's not even wrong about the facts. In 2019, the New York Times reported that Chinese intelligence found NSA hacking tools and repurposed them. But listen to how this creep frames it. Like China violated some rule. What rule? We planted the bomb. They found it and threw it back. So Bannon then chimes in and says, they are perfect IT automations. I get that. Can't make complicated decisions under pressure. The key to victory. Think Midway. Midway. World War II. This idiot is fantasizing about crushing China like America crushed Japan. That's his entire strategic vision. And then the pedophile Epstein responds, yes, when Midway occurred, they were still eating rats for breakfast. Literally. Eating rats for breakfast. Dehumanizing racist garbage.
Since the apparent death by suicide of Jeffrey Epstein in a Manhattan prison, much has come to light about his depraved activities and methods used to sexually abuse underage girls and entrap the rich and powerful for the purposes of blackmail. Jeffrey Epstein, the Zionist Israel CIA spy, was a rabid anti-communist. Notice how all the Epstein child-torturing pedophiles are also hardcore anti-communists. The Epstein files didn't just reveal that the rich rape, abuse, torture, eat, and murder children. It also revealed the rich want to commit the biggest genocide in history and exterminate every poor person on Earth. Bill Gates, one of the billionaires on the Jeffrey Epstein list, was and continues to push the racist, fascist overpopulation myth. A select group of billionaires met in semi-secrecy in May 2009 to find answers to overpopulation. The self-styled Good Group included Microsoft founder Bill Gates, media mogul Ted Turner, David Rockefeller Jr., and financiers George Soros and Warren Buffett. The overpopulation myth, economic fluctuations, and environmental damage are products of capitalism, products of a system in pursuit of profit, which has been incapable of meeting the needs of the world's population at any time in its history, regardless of the number of people living on the planet. Another real problem is that those who bleat about overpopulation, under the banner of concern for the environment or worry about poverty and food shortages, are actually blaming ordinary people for the starkly visible crisis that our world faces. This displaced blame gives cover to governments and the ruling class across the globe who orchestrate frenzied debates about population growth in order to pretend that they're taking economic and environmental crisis, which they play a central role in creating, seriously, while doing nothing to address the very real economic and environmental threats facing the world today. Noam Chomsky, the fake communist CIA plant, Viper opportunist Snake, and Jeffrey Epstein casually exchanging emails about Venezuela's socialism not being real socialism. Chomsky debated real socialism with a pedophile worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Hugo Chavez, who did not appear in the Epstein files, lifted millions out of poverty. Newly leaked email correspondence from Jeffrey Epstein. The pedophile shows how much Jeffrey Epstein hates Fidel Castro, the communist leader of Cuba. Documents dating back to 2016 suggest that Epstein viewed Castro not as an ally, but as a significant barrier to the operations of his sexual abuse and trafficking. In an email sent in November 2016, the month Fidel Castro passed away. Epstein described the Cuban leader's death as a favorable development for his activities. In the message, Epstein explicitly stated, "Fidel Castro is dead. Now there are many opportunities for me." Epstein chats show U.S. bigotry behind escalating war against China. Epstein and Bannon, both millionaires, referred to the Chinese government as peasants. And current U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said the same thing. Vance rose to prominence thanks to billionaire Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, who also appears in the Epstein files. Pretty hilarious that Xi Jinping is one of the only persons personally named in the Epstein files, and it ends up being a flex because Epstein apparently really hated him and the entire Chinese leadership because they didn't fall for his honeypot blackmailing scam. The capitalist pig news media trying so hard to throw Russia and China under the bus. It's pathetic. Jeffrey Epstein had secret child who was taken from mother at birth. In a diary entry, an Epstein victim claims to have given birth to a baby girl in about 2002 when she would have been 16 or 17 years old. Included in her diary is a copy of a pregnancy scan dated to 20 weeks gestation. The child appears to have been taken from her mother 10 minutes after birth, which the woman alleges was supervised by Epstein's former girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell. "She was born, I heard her cries," the victim wrote. "I saw this tiny head and body in between the doctor's hands. Ghislaine said she was beautiful. Where is she?" The diary was shared by the woman's lawyers.
Is this a pregnant child in the Epstein files? Now, keep in mind, this is for TikTok censors. This is all redacted. There is nothing graphic in this image. This is a photograph released by the Department of Justice in America, the authorities, to the general public. So nothing illegal is being shown here. However, a number of people online have pointed out that this appears to be the stomach of a very, very young girl.
Wigdor LLP, with federal prosecutors investigating Epstein and Maxwell. The woman later filed a lawsuit against the Epstein associate Leon Black, the former chief executive of Apollo Global Management, under the pseudonym Jane Doe in 2023. Epstein confided in scientists a scheme to seed the human race with his DNA by impregnating women at his vast New Mexico ranch, the New York Times reported in 2019. Conversations where Jeffrey Epstein brings up cream cheese and baby have gone viral and have sparked cannibalism claims. A message from Epstein to a person, whose name has been redacted in the files, reads, "There are millions of bobbies, very little good vegetable cream cheese." Another snippet from the communication says, "Lol, I don't know if cream cheese and baby are on the same level. In subsequent copies of the exchange, the other person's name is revealed to be Nadia. While the full name is not known, Epstein's former pilot is Nadia Marcinko, or Nada Marcinkova, who has reportedly been missing since early 2024. Epstein ordered 2 foreign girls strangled to death during sex to be buried near ranch. The last dark insight into convicted pedophile Epstein's world comes in the form of an email first sent on November 21, 2019, several months after Epstein was found dead in a New York jail. What is damning about Jeffrey Epstein is yet to be written. Did you know somewhere in the hills outside the Zorro, 2 foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madame G? Both died by strangulation during rape. The Mail Online reports the horrific claims were also sent with links to video, which alleged to show Epstein having sex with minors and threesomes with underage girls. Epstein bought Zorro Ranch in 1993, and it was said to be worth around £20 million when it was listed for sale after his death. The isolated property in New Mexico was used as a playground for Epstein and high-profile guests, in a similar way to his island of Little St. James in the Caribbean.